Tonight, hoping their election campaigns bear fruit.
Selling small business tax cuts, hoping the fruits of his Labor pay off.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And with 7 weeks still to go until polling day, the nightly TV news bulletins are pulling out all the puns they can to spice up this, wait for it, marathon campaign.
Both sides have begun this marathon campaign at a gentle jog, harnessing money and energy.
Bill Shorten is setting a pace in this marathon campaign.
On the run, proving he's fit for the job. Bill Shorten, day 2 of the marathon, on what he considers solid ground, education funding.
So why is Bill Shorten running for office, if you'll pardon the pun? Well, power walking worked for a previous Prime Minister, and this could be the perfect image for Bill. Shorten as sporty man of action who's fit to lead the country. Or that's what former ALP media maestro Lachlan Harris reckons they're aiming for.
With John Howard, the walk was used so effectively. It was such an effective set piece, and you can see they're attempting to tap into that. It's very low risk as a campaign strategy, and it's cheap, so it's a bit of a no-brainer in some ways.
But is Bill Shorten the natural sporting type? Sydney's trustworthy Telegraph reckons he ain't, and claims his daily TV jog is working against him.
Bill Shorten's man boobs his Achilles heel in election campaign. Image consultant Imogen Lamport said the images of Mr Shorten running could undermine his recent makeover.
And in case you missed that so-called news story, the telly had a crazy opinion column from former Labor leader Mark Latham on those man boobs, complete with Photoshop pictures of Bill as Caitlyn Jenner. Classy stuff. So, what was Malcolm Turnbull up to? Well, in her first column for the Sunday Telegraph, Tony Abbott's former minder Peter Credlin predicted that the two leaders would
both try to avoid shopping centres and random interactions.
To avoid meeting members of the public who could say anything. But she forgot to warn Malcolm about trains.
An unforgettable campaign encounter with what's his name?
I'm doing a bit of conducting on the train, you see.
Great comeback from the multimillionaire who likes to be seen as public transport's #1 fan. Meanwhile, Bill Shorten was ignoring Ms Credlin's advice by not only going to a shopping centre, but also doing this.
He's a human. Hi, Bill Shorten, very nice to meet you.
No doubt there's lots more fun to come. But so far the real action and the damage is elsewhere. Here's the front page of the Herald Sun on Friday, savaging an ordinary voter who got caught in the election crossfire.
ABC hero, a villain.
Q&A sob story star exposed as a thug as public donates $60,000.
Duncan Storer, the Geelong man the ABC presented as a new national hero, has an extensive criminal record over 2 decades, including threats to kill and unlawful assault.
So who is Duncan Storer? He's a man who asked a question on the ABC's Q&A about why he didn't get a tax break from the budget. Yes, really. And it wasn't just the Herald Sun that was ripping into him. News Corp's The Australian was also revealing his rap sheet.
Q&A hero, convicted for threats to kill.
That front-page story by Caroline Overington followed her front-page exclusive the previous day, branding the Q&A questioner an undeserving drug user who had let his family down.
The truth about my father, the Q&A hero.
So what had Duncan done to deserve this fury? Well, it had all started with this question on Q&A to a panel including Government Minister Kelly O'Dwyer.
I've got a disability and a low education. That means I've spent my whole life working off a minimum wage. You're going to lift the tax-free threshold for rich people. If you lift my tax-free threshold, that changes my life. That means that I get to say to my little girls, Daddy's not broke this weekend, we can go to the pictures. Rich people don't even notice their tax-free threshold lift.
That's right.
Why don't I get it? Why do they get it?
Duncan went on to repeat the claim that lifting the tax-free threshold would change his life and added,
low-income earners lose more money because every penny we pay in tax is that's money we don't have to spend at the bottom end. People who make $80,000 a year don't know who they are. Well, they don't even notice it, love. We notice that sort of stuff.
Before he knew it, and whether he liked it or not, Duncan was starring as a poster boy for the left, the battler the Turnbull budget had ignored. On social media, hundreds of people tweeted their support with the hashtag #IStandWithDuncan. And as his fame went viral, Q&A producer Amanda Collins added a tweet she has since deleted, proclaiming,
Duncan has struck a chord. New national hero.
Not the wisest move, perhaps. But Tuesday morning, the mainstream media were also moving in to build him up or knock him down. The Age sent a photographer to snap him with his kids and claim,
Election 2016. Q&A star Duncan Storer puts a human face on the budget battle.
The Australian also sent its photographer around and hit back with a counterclaim.
Federal election 2016. ABC's budget fairness victim pays no net tax.
By now, the public had also begun digging deep to support him. And even the Australian's Caroline Overington was on his side, replying to Amanda Collins in a tweet that Overington has now deleted.
That is one of the most heartwarming things ever.
Overington also wrote in an opinion piece in the Oz the same day that Duncan had showed
great dignity
in his replies, despite being treated by some on the Q&A panel with a
Dickensian heartlessness that is hard to fathom.
But Overington also flagged
claims, now being checked, that Duncan doesn't deserve a cent of your support.
And once those claims from friends, son and stepdaughter had been followed up, it was open season on Duncan, with the story ticking all the boxes for News Corp. Bash the poor, bash the ABC and bash Labor. The perfect trifecta. On Friday morning, the Herald Sun's front page splash hit the streets, and editor Damon Johnson was on ABC Radio with John Fain to defend his paper's actions in turning this man's life upside down.
I think you're being a bully, Damon, and I think you're doing it in today's front page as well. ABC hero, a villain. Q&A sob story star exposed as a thug as public donate $60,000. Another man who quite openly put his own battle with mental illness on national television on Q&A on Monday night. You go back more than 15 years to expose his criminal record, to again bully and vilify him. What are you doing?
Well, I think it's a legitimate point of public debate. If you put yourself on the public stage, and particularly in the middle of an election campaign, questioning government policy, questioning this, I think you're entitled to be subjected to a bit of scrutiny.
A bit of scrutiny?
This man's son has obviously worked with us on the story, and he had a view on his father. So it was all part of legitimate public debate, in my view.
So is this what now happens in Australia to someone who sticks their head up in public and exercises their democratic rights? Duncan didn't ask to be a national hero or a national villain, nor did he ask for our charity. All he did was put his hand up and ask a question, and he was crucified. Last night, he told mediawatch,
if a person shows the powers to be, out-of-touch people that they are, they will be dropped, probed and attacked in any way with no thought to the mental well-being of their children. This exposing of your life and every discrepancy in it will be published, ruining your job prospects.
And you can read a full statement from Duncan Storer on our website. And despite the week he's had, he did say, thank you, Australia, for all your support. I didn't want this. But now to the future of the planet, which, as the Sydney Morning Herald told us last week, is about to reach a tipping point.
Grim warning.
World exclusive. Carbon pollution to reach point of no return within days.
The message in that alarming Page One story appears to be that global warming has reached the point of no return and the planet is doomed. That's surely why it's a world exclusive and front page news. But is that right? The story here is that the Cape Grim weather station in the north of Tasmania, hence grim warning, is days away from recording its first ever CO2 measurement of 400 parts per million. And that, says the Herald, is the point of no return because
once it's over 400 ppm, it won't go back, said Paul Fraser, dubbed by CSIRO as the airman of Cape Grim.
So what's the magic in 400 parts per million, which The Guardian soon joined the Herald in describing as teetering on the point of no return? Well, unless you like round numbers, absolutely nothing. According to one of Australia's leading climate scientists, Professor David Caroli, who's certainly concerned about the pace of global warming,
it's no more significant than hitting 399 or 401 ppm, and it is no more a point of no return than those figures either. It's just a nice round figure that makes for good headlines.
Another leading climate scientist, Dr. Sophie Lewis from the ANU, who's also worried about global warming, echoes that view.
The 400 parts per million figure is really just a number. It doesn't have a particular impact on the climate system as such. It's not a tipping point or a point of no return.
So, no tipping point, no point of no return, and not much significance except as a milestone. And is it really new? The Herald tells us it will be the first baseline reading of 400 parts per million, and the first time in recorded history that the mark has been passed. It also claims its story as a world exclusive. But the world's been hearing about this since 2012, as the limit has been breached in different parts of the world, as these pieces in The Guardian make clear.
Greenhouse gas levels pass symbolic 400 ppm CO2 milestone.
Record 400 ppm CO2 milestone. Feels like we're moving into another era.
Global carbon dioxide levels break 400 ppm milestone.
The significance of Cape Grim, where the limit was actually breached the day before the Herald's story, is that it's the first time 400 has been passed in the southern hemisphere, where pollution is lower. And it won't fall below that mark again because readings at the Cape don't fluctuate. But why beat that up to be so much more than it is? Well, there's an election on. Climate policy is one of the battlegrounds, and the Herald no doubt wants action. It also comes as cuts are being forced to CSIRO's climate science team. And global warming is a major problem. But all that is no excuse. The media has a duty to present issues factually and fairly, especially when they are as important as this. And we don't think the Herald's grim warning did that. And finally tonight, to the question of diversity on Australian television, following last week's gold Logie win for popular presenter Waleed Ali. Accepting his award, the co-host of Tens the Project began with some edgy advice to viewers.
Do not adjust your sets. There's nothing wrong with the picture. If you're in the room, I'm sure there's an Instagram filter you can use to return things to normal. It'll be fine.
Cue a shake of the head from Andrew Bolt and outrage from his fellow News Corp columnist Rita Panahi on Bolt's new show on Sky.
Well, why couldn't he just say thank you? Australia's actually not bad.
Oh, because we were obviously such a horrible racist place.
What an ungrateful man. Next, he'll be complaining about being the first gold Logie winner in 20 years, not to be on the front page of Melbourne's Herald Sun. But Waleed Ali does have a point. He's the first brown face in the award's 57-year history to win a gold Logie. And in a country where almost half the population was born overseas, or has a parent born overseas, he is still a rarity. Turn on primetime TV news in Sydney, apart from SBS, and this is who you'll see. All white except for the ABC's Jeremy Fernandez. It's the same story in Canberra. And if you switch the dial to Melbourne, the picture's again much the same. Moving over to Hobart, there's still not a brown, black or Asian face in sight. Nor is the one in Adelaide. In Perth, 10 has an Indigenous newsreader, but all the others are white. Darwin's ABC has a newsreader of Greek parentage, and the rest are white. And in Brisbane, the ABC's Karina Cavallo was born in Sri Lanka. So, put all those 40 faces together, and, as you can see, it's a sea of white. And if you have a spare couple of minutes, check out your local radio hosts as well, and you'll find it's just the same. So, congratulations, Waleed, not only for winning the gold Logie, but for getting the gig on Channel 10 in the first place. And of course, for doing it so well. And you can read more about all tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website, where you can get a transcript and download the programme. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or MediaWatch on Twitter. But for now, until next week, that's all from us. Goodbye.